This is a Winn-Dixie, America's supermarket. With the Thanksgiving holiday upon us, this parking lot will be teeming with people who are here to buy their Thanksgiving turkeys or glazed hams for the special occasion. Now, sometimes you'll see people moving in and out of the store who are here to buy Thanksgiving supplies for other people with their own money. That's right. In the spirit of my high school's mantra, the Arnold family organizes friends and family each year to buy Thanksgiving supplies for the less fortunate so that there are other people in the city of New Orleans who can experience a Thanksgiving dinner. Their kindness goes beyond that, though, and in my personal opinion, the Arnolds truly represent what it means to be great people. And that even includes the future member of the Arnold family who joined us on this week's episode. Folks, clean up on aisle 10. It's time for another edition of Chris's Picks.
Everything litty, I love when it's hot. Turned to the city, I broke all the notch. Got some more millies that keep me a knot. I created history, it made me a lot.
Welcome back to another week of Chris's Picks. Folks, people are saying that this show doesn't miss. And by people, I mean people outside of just my mom, okay? People are liking the content that this show is creating. And to be honest with you, I agree. I might have a biased opinion of that, but I think we have yet another jam-packed episode for you. We've got 3 really good guest pickers. Had a whole lot of fun filming with them. We also have another special guest picker. It's a surprise guest picker. This guest picker doesn't contribute much to the fantasy football conversation, but I do think that it could be a fan favorite among some. First, we have to talk about the picks and the recap of last week. So let's start with the picks. The picks went 3-3 for myself and my guest pickers. So we all went 3-3, which puts my total at 33-21 on the season and puts the guest picker total at 31-23 on the season. So I remain 2 games up. Chris's picks last week should come with an asterisk. I went 3-3, but that should come with an asterisk because I made picks assuming that teams were one way, when in fact they were another way. Yes, that's right, folks. Right after the filming of Chris's Picks last week, breaking news. A blockbuster trade got passed. A 3-team blockbuster trade. Here are the details of this trade. I don't love it. I think that Daniel gets very good by giving up relatively nothing. Will, I think you gave up arguably the best 2 running backs in fantasy football, and I don't think you were adequately compensated for it. I think you could have gotten more out of Daniel. I wish you would have gotten more out of Daniel. You're making a deal with the devil here. You got to hit this guy between the eyes, okay? He'll happily give up a pick to get Alvin Kamara, and I think he even gets a pick back, based on the graphic. I don't know. I didn't really study this trade too hard, but I will say I don't love it. I think it's not great for the league big picture-wise. I think Daniel's going to be really tough to beat for the next few seasons because of it. Now, Will, I understand your argument. You got to worry about your team. If you truly think your team got better from it, kudos to you. I'm happy for you. I'm just trying to think big picture here. It's going to be tough for this league to crown a different champion. So we'll see how that goes. Dan, you're kind of a footnote. No offense, but you're kind of a footnote in this whole trade. I think you did get marginally better. But I think the headline here was the fact that Daniel got really good. And in my opinion, off the back of Will, although we'll see what he can do with those draft picks. And this is your friendly reminder that draft picks mean literally nothing. Yes, I am still in that camp. Draft picks mean nothing.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
On to the recap of last week. So, Justin Jefferson finally found the end zone again for the first time since week 1 to propel Gritty and the Jets to an 18-point win against Team Takeout. Logan really never got the games he needed from Valdez-Scantling, Mike Gesicki, and Romeo Doubs, who had to leave the game with an injury. he really has no choice to start some of these same guys again, because his bench, and really his bench along with everyone else's bench in this 12-person, 29 roster spot league, is a barren wasteland of nothingness.
And here we go. I hope you're hungry for nothing.
So, Lo, you are you have a plight, but it's a plight that's shared by the rest of us. I really don't want to talk about this game. Hunter Biden's laptop claimed a 1-point victory against my Steven Stogies, which virtually ends my season. Kenneth Walker was strong as the Seattle game drew to a close, which was all Jack needed to survive the donut from Ben Skronak.
My boy, how many minutes you playing tonight? You getting in? 0?
Yes, I played a team who started Ben Skronak and lost largely because my tight end, Logan Thomas, is seemingly on the field for every single snap, yet somehow, inexplicably, cannot score a fantasy point.
My boy, how many minutes you playing tonight? You getting in? 0?
There's more reasons to live on this earth than sports, and as soon as I discover what those reasons are, I will be sure to let everyone here know. The Chubby Dubbies had his namesake on bye, but still managed to beat Dalvin and the Chipmunks by 30. Props to Travis Kelce, who did not score a touchdown, but did rack up 10 catches for 106 yards, which is good for 15 fantasy points. Dan started Robert Woods and Naheem Himes, who didn't realize that scoring points was the objective in this one.
My boy, how many minutes you playing tonight? You getting in? 0?
Y'all have got to be tired of me using that running gag by now, but it helps pad showtime, so we're going to keep using it. Can't guard Jameis accomplished what everyone and their grandmother has done this year, and by that I mean he beat more than a feeling. Led by Dallas Goedert and Kenyon Drake, Blake found himself at the 100-point mark for the first time in 5 weeks. And Dill? Well, Dill just continues to show up. Here's the thing. I only have one more win than Dill on this season, but that's not important. You know why? This is called Chris's picks, not Dill's picks. So until that day comes, I'm going to continue to paint myself in a more flattering light than, other teams that are struggling. Dave had one player score more points than an entire team last week. Yes, you heard me correctly. The Mahomies enjoyed victory against the defending champ Young and Hollis thanks to a 53-point performance from Joe Mixon. Daniel's team would have beaten every other team in the league except the one he played, but that is sometimes how the cookie crumbles. Folks, sometimes you're blessed with skills that are useless in the real world, like writing well in an era where no one reads, or speaking about fantasy football teams that only 12 people on earth care about. Such is our lot in life sometimes, so we just gotta roll with the punches. Fittingly, the Deceptively Good at Golf Bowl featured two teams who combined to shoot the lowest scores of the week, as Team Sadho beat a team that one could argue didn't even get out of bed on Sunday morning. Oh no. Garrett Wilson had an okay game and did some football-related activities on a field, so we'll go ahead and put his highlights up. What's amazing to me is William did not have one player score 0 points in this whole contest. It was truly a total team effort to perform as poorly as he did. Also of note, Will has now been named the least efficient manager by the Sleeper app 3 weeks in a row. I guess at the end of the day, you can trade away your players, but at some point, Will, you've got to look yourself in the mirror.
That is one big pile.
That just about wraps up our recap. I think I was equally mean to everyone who deserved it, so I should hear no complaints. On to the guest pickers.
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name.
Anyways, welcome back to another week of Chris's Picks, folks. This time we are truly on location. We are at Williams' uncle's house bar. So that would be Mr. Billy's brother's house bar, and Caroline's in-laws' house bar at some point in time. So we're very excited to be here. I think this is going to be a very good episode. We also have little puppy Wrigley with us. Wrigley will not be weighing in on any of these picks, but it's just here for the vibe, really. Thanks for being on the show, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yep, absolutely. It's also, too, before we begin, an important PSA. It is Election Day. Mr. Billy, I understand you're not on the ballot this go.
I am not on the ballot.
Still, folks, get out to vote. And more importantly, for those of you posting your I voted stickers on social media, nobody cares. So anyways, any comments before we like to begin?
Wrigley almost didn't want to come on because the hostile environment provided for her last week. I had to convince her with some treats.
As Wrigley decided to make it onto the show, and we're happy that she is, we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start with the easy ones, like we always do. The young and the holeless versus more than a Thielen. So Daniel has Alvin Kamara now.
Yes, he does.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll call you back. Thank you.
Come on. Come on.
Got Travis Etienne, who's joining him in that backfield. He's got Cooper Kupp and Tyreek Hill, who are the number 1 and number 2 wide receivers in fantasy football. A pretty lethal combination. Dill's only claim to fame here is that he's starting running back Brian Robinson, who was shot multiple times and still has found his way back to the football field before Michael Thomas, who has a severely stubbed toe. I like Daniel on this one. William, what do you think?
Yeah, you said a lot of truths in there, except about one thing. But there's a lot of hype about this dad power and all these draft picks about Dylan in the offseason. And the results just haven't been there. I mean, this lineup reads like a who's who of disappointments this season. It's not your fault. I'm right there with you. I can't say a word about that. But I will say, if Daniel doesn't win this thing, I will personally babysit Leah for the entire weekend just so you can celebrate the victory, all right?
You may come in one at a time.
Thank you.
I got Daniel in this one, and I don't think it's going to be close either.
So Leah will not be babysat by William. Caroline, what do you think?
Well, I think Aaron Rodgers is risky unless you're playing against him because he'll throw you the ball at least 3 times a game. I have to go with Daniel, even though he has kind of a diva for his QB. You know, Kyler likes to start drama on the sidelines, so you have to watch out for him, but I have to go with Daniel's team.
Kyler's a small child. If you give him a toy or give him an Xbox, he'll be okay. I think he'll be enough for the win. Mr. Billy, what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm looking at my notes here, and I don't even see Dylan's record. Anybody know what that record is? Or is that just
so I know
trying to be nice?
He's got 2 wins.
He's got 2 wins. Okay. Okay. It's rough. I mean, I'm sure you were all happy when you had Aaron Rodgers last year, but things have changed, and little Kyler's going to take care of it. I mean, he's got little Tyreek who can just fly down the field. Leonard's probably going to be wearing his LSU shoulder pads, as always, and Wrigley's just jumping all over me.
Wrigley's excited. She's very excited about this matchup.
So I have to go with you, Daniel, the young and the holeless.
That's a clean sweep of Daniel. And, folks, that's not a product of us getting together and comparing notes. That's just a product of one team being way better than the other team. We'll move right ahead to the Chubby Dubbies versus Can't Guard Jameis. So this is another case of one team being way better than the other team. This time it's Scott over Blake, in my opinion. Blake's got Lamar on bye. He's got Kenyon Drake on bye. Nick Folk, who I just did some research on, was on my roster at the beginning of the season. Then Blake added him, and Nick Folk beat me when I played Blake. I'm very upset about this. But he's on bye, too. Everybody's on bye on Blake's team. I don't think it would matter because Scott is truly out of everyone's league. He's got Hurts. He's got Chubb. He's got Miles Sanders, Diggs, Hopkins. The only similarities between me and Scott are I think that on cold nights, when I look up at the nighttime sky and see the moon, I like to imagine that Scott sees that same moon. That's really where the buck ends between comparison's sake. I like the Chubby Dubbies big in this one. Mr. Billy, we'll start with you this time.
Chubby Dubbies 8-1. I mean, come on. That's impressive. You got Jalen all over the place, undefeated. Great year for Jalen. Lamar, Watched him last night. He's a stud. I mean, he is
on bye next week.
Yeah, Blake won't be having him.
So who's Blake going to have start?
His backup is Jameis Winston.
Okay, so who's Blake going to start? Does he have Taysom, maybe?
No, sir, he does not. In fact, I think that Blake is also wondering who's going to start.
sorry, Blake. He might have had a good weekend last weekend, but he's not this go around. He's got to hope Arkansas doesn't do anything.
Unfortunately, Blake, that's another strike against you. Caroline, what do you think?
Yeah, sorry, Blake. I mean, you have literally no one suiting up on your team. I mean, you don't have a quarterback. Kenyon Drake's out. Obviously, I'm a Jalen fan, but you can't, even as an Alabama fan, you can't root against Jalen because, I mean, his record speaks for himself. Chubb got the highest praise from Derrick Henry, saying he's the best running back on the planet. So, I mean, you really can't go against Scott's team here.
I agree. I think Blake picked the right weekend to have everybody on bye, though.
Yeah.
If you're going to play somebody 8-1, you might as well just
That's a good
have
point.
your buys out there.
Yeah, if you're going to lose to this team already, which Blake, you
would have.
Yeah. It's a good time to have some players on bye. Now, Will, what do you think?
I got to say, Blake's team this year, compared to last year, he's just been getting it done. He received a lot of flack last year, but he's honestly stepped up this year, and his team is better off for it. Like, his record is not as bad as it was last year. And
He's
I think
setting the lineup this year. That's like the difference.
there's a difference, and it's showing in the results.
Yeah.
This week might not look that way, but it is. Having said that, looking up and down at Scott's lineup is like reading an R.L. Stein book. Scott's team is disgusting. He's scoring on an unprecedented level. Here, get this. They're scoring 30 more points per game than the league average.
Wow.
30 more points per game.
That's our stats guy for you.
That's like 2 Mixons. It's all or nothing for the W's this year, and I think they're well on their way to getting it done.
I like the R.L. Stein reference. We'll see how many of you understand that. That's going to really separate the readers from the non-readers in this little fantasy league. I do like Scott. It's another clean sweep. So we'll plow ahead here, and we're going to go to our game, Will. We're going to go to Steven Stogies versus the Dixieland Depression. A little bit of a name change. This isn't me whining or complaining. It is. But just wait and see. Well, I crunched the numbers. I was inspired by your numbers getting, and so I crunched some numbers.
What you got?
You and I in the history of this league, I've given up 2,494 points against, and you've given up 2,445 points against. That's good for both 1 and 2 in this league. Nobody else is close. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's time to fire our defensive coordinators.
Yeah.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But in all seriousness, I will not be playing Eckler this week. Or Kamara.
No.
Instead, I play against Josh Jacobs again. And Najee Harris. And, Will, I know you're high on this guy, Najee Harris. I'm sure he's a swell guy. He's a nice guy. He's not having a good fantasy football year. Okay?
He's done terrible.
He's done pretty poorly.
Yeah.
The potential's there. Okay, I understand where your head was at when you made this trade. I just don't like it. Amari Cooper, what's he going to do? I think that he will probably do well, but I think a lot of your performance hinges on that. Mm-hmm. You look at me, it's a bunch of question marks. Geno Smith. DeAndre Swift. Does DeAndre Swift play football these days?
Not anymore.
I don't know. Aaron Jones, what's he going to do? Is he going to drop 30 or is he going to drop 3? I'm not sure. The only certainty on my team is Devontae Adams. And, you would hope so after trading the entire draft for him, pulling a Mike Ditka like I did. Yeah. This is a coin flip game. I think you could go either way. No rhyme or reason. I've got me simply because I'm taking me. We'll start with you.
Chris, I'd like to disagree with you. My team is dragging right now. We scored, I think, 43 points last week, good for dead last in the league. We're in a downward spiral, and you know what I think it is? I think it's because I traded away all my star players, and
people are saying
the chemistry is not there right now. I'm not saying I regret it. I think it's going to take some time, but we need to show some resilience right now if we want to get back in this playoff race, because right now it's not looking likely. You can go ahead and just thank the league scheduler for scheduling me right after that week I just had.
Yeah.
Chris was the most scored on team last year, like you mentioned, and that won't be the case this weekend. I think, like you said, Devontae is going to remind the Raiders why they traded for him. And
Are you picking me?
And I'm going with Chris. I'm going with the Stogies.
There you go. Caroline, what do you say about this?
Yeah, it's a real toss-up. Y'all have pretty bad teams this week.
Every week.
Like, the only thing William has going for him is that Josh Jacobs helps homeless youth. Nothing related to football. He's just a good guy off the field. Najee's a great guy off the field, too. But, I mean, against the Eagles, he had 4 carries for no yards at halftime. So he's not helping at all. Swift might not play. His ankle's hurt. Geno threw a pick-6 last game. I'm going to go with Dixieland Depression because I need to become Delight again because last weekend really sucked. And that's like the only reason because honestly, it could come out in a tie with y'all and I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, Caroline's backing her man, Mr. Billy. What do you think?
Justin Herbert. I mean, come on. Sunday night at 49ers.
Yeah.
That's
a big
gonna be rough.
one.
I mean, he had trouble. Where was he? Atlanta?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Maybe he's hurt. I don't know.
Josh Jacobs, he's hurting as well. He's playing the Colts. But then again, you got Aaron Jones, bad ankle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my whole team's shot. I don't know what to tell you.
I just think William wishes that Saturday's game was tonight because of the red wave that's going to happen. Because there was no Crimson Tide on Saturday. But the red wave, even though I say,
there we go.
For St. Arnold, choose beer. But there's going to be no Crimson Tide this weekend. No Dixieland Delight. It's still going to be a Dixieland Depression. And we're going with the Stogies.
There we go. Mr. Billy's in my corner. Caroline's the Lone Ranger. The Cheese stands alone over there. Moving ahead to Gritty and the Jets versus the Mahomes. This is where games get a little bit interesting. And by interesting, I mean better. Drew's team should be doing better than 4-5. It's not. We're all enjoying the fact that it's not. But it really, you look at the roster, it should be better than 4-5. He's got Mike Evans now. Yeah.
He went and got Mike Evans?
Oh, yeah, he's got Mike Evans.
Jimbo was looking for Mike Evans to come back. Did he hear left of eligibility?
I'll tell you what, Jimbo needs a lot more than Mike Evans. Maybe he can offer some of that NIL money to him and see if he'll turn that down for the NFL salary he's getting. Will Deebo Samuel play? I don't know. And Christian McCaffrey is now on the 49ers. I think that hurts Deebo Samuel's stock. And you flip the coin here. Dave has Tony Pollard. He's got Joe Mixon, who's on bye, so he's got to start Raheem the Dream Mostert. He's got Patrick Mahomes. Christian Kirk is getting back on track, finding himself. Michael Pittman, big question mark to him. He's got a new ball coach. This coach, to my knowledge, hasn't coached anything above Pee Wee football. So we'll see how that goes. He doesn't really have a quarterback. Even with that, though, I like Dave in this one. Where'd we start last time? We'll start with Mr. Billy this time.
I'm going for the Mahomes, too. I mean, it's just...
Love it.
And it has nothing to do with Tua or the other Alabama players he's got on that team there. What was that, Waddle? Yep. And I got a dog flying all over it. But, man, Chris Olave, he's been showing up for us, even though we haven't been showing up for him. And
That's true.
I got to go with the Mahomes.
Another Mahomes. Caroline, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm also going with the Mahomes. I do have some reservations, though. But you look at Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's doing so well. He'd rather be at practice than go home to his wife. So he's putting a lot of time in on the field. And you have
both.
And then you have Brown and Smith. I mean, I know Devontae Smith hasn't really stepped up lately, but you have both of them. You really can't argue against them. Tua has a good record when he starts and finishes the game during the season, but you just don't know if he can take the hits. And then Justin Jefferson is making Kirk Cousins look better than he is. I don't really know how good he is on his own, so I have to go with Dave's team.
But you know what? Kirk Cousins does like to take his shirt off, which is worth nothing. William, what do you say?
I got to say not so fast all three.
Oh, there we go.
This is my personal game of the week. I had this one scheduled. Dave is heading towards for hangover game. You can't repeat what he just did. I mean, he set an astronomical benchmark with the Mixon show last week.
Yep.
But there's no way to repeat that. There's no way to live up to the hype. We've heard all about Drew's team. We've all heard all about Drew's team.
Yes. From the same source.
He has an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver. There's no denying it. And his record this year is honestly not as bad as it could be or should be. I mean, he's 4-5, and he should be a lot better than that. I think this is time for Drew's team to turn around. I think some savvy trades on Drew's part might help him steer the ship in the right direction. I think he takes this one.
That's code, Drew, for Williams ready to give you the rest of his roster if you would like to offer him a trade. So,
How much for this?
You want to buy that? 50 cents?
I'll give you 25 cents.
Yeah, I just can't do that.
we'll see, but I like the little bit of disagreement we have. But we got a not so fast from William, who thinks it's his show, really. He's declaring games of the week here. Moving on to Dalvin and the Chipmunks versus Team Sadho. This was going to be my game of the week. I was going to call it the Tropical Storm Nicole Bowl. I thought that was insensitive, so we decided to do something different, but I still wanted to get the joke in, so I said it. Dalvin and the Chipmunks. What can be said about this? Well, Dan now has Eckler, along with Dalvin Cook. He has Mariota. Maybe Mariota's found his home with Atlanta. He only scored 7 fantasy points last week, but he is the number 12 quarterback in fantasy. So I don't know. A lot is going to be contingent on Tropical Storm Nicole, though. Not to, you're joking aside. I mean, they're playing at Carolina. Atlanta and Carolina are playing. Dan's got DJ Moore. He's got Marcus Mariota, Harry. He's got Cordell Patterson, who's back. It's expected to rain. Okay, will it be a running game? I don't know. Christian McCaffrey's back. You also have Judy, Zay Jones, Wandale Robinson. Who are these people, Harry? Who are these people? Wrigley doesn't know. I don't know. No one knows. Even with all that, I think I like Harry in this one, really, because it really boils down to me. I look at the records. You know, records shouldn't have anything to do with it, but I look and I say, Harry's won 4 games, Dan's won twice. One team knows how to win, one team doesn't. I like Harry. William, what do you think?
Dan's got this 1-2 punch with Eckler and Cook. I don't know. That came out of nowhere. That's incredible. Yeah. Great for Dan.
Yeah, came out of nowhere.
Harry has a lot of guys on bye this week. Harry really can't Billy Bean himself out of this situation here. I gifted him a win last week. Scored 43 points. I'll just say it again. I scored 43 points in fantasy football. And I had guys starting at every position.
Yeah. Nobody scored 0 points, too. It was a Jeez. We're going to edit that part out. It was it was a true team effort.
Everyone contributed to that 43. But that's not going to happen this week. Dan's record is misleading. He's had the most points scored on him all season this year, and it's time for him to return the favor on Harry. I'm rolling with the Chipmunks, which is not something I thought I'd say.
All right, Caroline, what do you have?
Okay. Looking at Dan's team, yeah, Mariota is kind of a question mark for me. He was 1 for 8 on 40-yard passes last week. Dalvin Cook's a positive. He brought the Vikings to victory against Washington. Eckler is very bald for a 27-year-old. He reminds me of one of our friends, not throwing names out there. But then you go to Harry's team, and you look at Trevor Lawrence, total opposite, way too much hair for a man. Needs to cut it. And then I can't ever pick any team that has Taysom Hill on it because he went to BYU. So I got to go with Dan's team.
For those that don't know, Caroline's family's from the Utah area. They do have a
my parents went to the University of Utah, so I just can never cheer for BYU.
Some background. You know, people are probably wondering, like, what's their beef?
I mean, you really can.
Against the Mormons. I mean, come on.
Well, they knock on doors. Yeah. Nobody likes knocking on doors.
It was great musical.
Mr. Billy, what do you say?
This was a tough one as well. I mean, it's like, wow. I looked at it and said, right, maybe we got 2 Heisman Trophy. No, I'm sorry, Trevor, you didn't win.
I love Trevor Lawrence for competing. He takes off, he sees things open up.
But Marcus, you got it, so that's great. It's Taysom probably should have got it before Trevor anyway, but I do like Taysom. Taysom's on my fantasy team as well, and it's great to have 2 quarterbacks playing at the same time when your other one is either Joe Burrow or Herbert in my league. But and I'm still not winning.
I was going to ask you how you were doing.
No, not very well. But I'm going to have to go with Harrison. Sorry, Dan. I know you're my buddy, but
Dan's everybody's buddy. Unfortunately, he can't win games, and so that really leads him to be in the trash bin of this league. But Dan, you're a good person.
this is Dan E, right?
Yeah,
Dan E.
Yeah.
Not Danny, but Dan E. Yeah. Great first baseman too, but hey.
Great first baseman, great guy. Awful fantasy team. Awful fantasy team, and for that we will remind you and always let you know. Folks, it's our game of the week. Hunter Biden's laptop versus team takeout. I was going back and forth. I was like, should this be a game of the week? Honestly, folks, a lot of the times, if I can't think of a name for the game of the week, I don't make it the game of the week. This is a pretty weak name by my standards, but it is. I am going with it. The Peggy Bowl. For those that don't know, Logan gave Jack the nickname Peggy, something that we also always hear about every time somebody asks, why do you call him Peggy? Logan is very quick to point out it was him. He looks like a Peggy if he was a girl, okay? But Jack is not a girl, for those that are fact-checking me at home. Just getting right into this one. I mean, these two teams have been difficult to predict all year long. You know, Barkley's back for Jack, as are Lamb and Ayuk. Questions. I think they're question marks. Even when they play, I think they're question marks. Romeo Dobbs, speaking of question marks, he's listed as out for Logan's game. Really, I don't know if Logan can really replace him with anybody because his bench is very weak. And Logan, that's nothing against you. That's everybody in this league. You do have a newly acquired Darnell Mooney, as well as a great equalizer in Derrick Henry. This is a very close game. I think this one really comes down to the wire. Unfortunately for you, Log, I like Jack in this one. His team has a head full of steam, so we'll see how it plays out. But I am taking Jack. Mr. Billy, what do you say?
Oh, I can't go with Tom Brady, Josh Allen. Josh Allen, I heard, was hurting a little bit, right? Is he going to be full strength?
He's questionable.
Yeah,
He's questionable.
So, normally you'd have Tom Brady and Josh Allen. You go with Josh Allen nowadays, but with Derrick Henry on that sideline too, that's gonna be tough. And a name like Hunter Biden's laptop, I know that's a dig at Hunter Biden, but again, we got that red wave going on, and I got my friend from Texas here.
Let's go.
President Bush, and he's telling me, let's go with team takeout.
To stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive.
The build-up for that prop was insane. I don't know if that's going to come across to the viewer, but I was just on the edge of my seat listening to this man rustle through the back. I was like, what is he going to pull out? Is it going to be another Wrigley? I don't know. It's G-Dub. He's going with team takeout. Caroline, what do you say?
I'm also going with team takeout. I don't really understand the name of that team, but that's beside the point.
Nobody does.
Mainly because Josh Allen is questionable with his UCL injury. Tom Brady, divorce seems to work for him on the field, and you really can't go against Derrick Henry. So I've got to go with Logan's team.
I like it. And a lot of people have questions about team takeout.
I feel like it should be like team cookout. I really don't understand the takeout.
If we had a cookout here, maybe he would. Maybe. Hey, Logan, a sponsorship? Maybe. I don't know.
Team Uber Eats, maybe.
Team Uber Eats. I don't know. William, what do you think?
I'm gonna roll with the takeout name for a second. Logan, you better check that takeout for some fortune cookies or something, brother, because you need some ancient Chinese wisdom to get this team back in order. It's just not happening for you right now. Gotta say, Jack's very relevant. Team name is about to come in and roll into town and steal the election. He's about to steal the game. He's quietly scored the 4th most points in the entire league this year. Can you believe that? I couldn't. I think he's about to give Logan a front row view of what he's been doing all year long. I'm taking Jack.
So, folks, I will say this, and this is a new prediction. I've come up with this as I've listened to some of my guests speak. You watch. This will be the very first game that on Tuesday we have a retabulation of the points, and Jack is going to end up being the winner. Jack is going to come swooping out of nowhere, take the win, and what everyone previously thought going to bed Monday night was Logan's day. That's what I think is going to happen. We will see, though. We'll see about the red wave.
This is hanging chads.
Hanging chads. Our viewers might be a little young for that, but we know. But if you studied history class, you know the story of 2000. Mr. Billy was a spry and young, 40 years old. Were you?
He knows about it.
Well, folks, that's about all we had for the show today. Again, thank you for having me on in this household in my own show. Any parting words from the guests?
Thank you for braving the West Bank, Chris.
Yeah, it was. It does get scary out here. You know, the time changes. The lights are going off sooner.
Kind of spooky over
It
here.
is. It is spooky. It's November, so we're about 365 days away from when it's supposed to be spooky. A little bit ahead of schedule, if you don't mind me saying. But that's about it for the show. Wrigley, we're glad you could be on and offer absolutely nothing to the commentary today. But you were cute, and I might put you in the thumbnail because people will click on the video. So,
Thank
folks,
you.
yep, absolutely. That was
Thanks
it
for
for
having
Chris's
us.
picks. We'll see you next week.
One